There are two types of people watching this video. There are those that know about the brand Realme, and there are those that don't. If you live in Nigeria, you're most likely in that second group, because up until recently, Realme had no presence here. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, they had their first ever launch event here in Nigeria, which I got to attend. In that event, they announced this phone, the Realme Note 50. Let's talk about it. Now, for a bit of context, this phone starts at 107,400 naira. So it falls under the entry-level smartphone category. Just remember that. In the box of the Note 50, we get almost all accessories. Almost. The only accessory missing is wired earphones. On the back of the phone, you'll notice we get a two-tone finish. We also get that triple camera iPhone look, which was super popular about a year ago. I'm not the biggest fan of that design. I feel like we've seen way too many budget phones with this design, so it's kind of gone stale. To me anyway. But yeah, we get a two-tone finish. The top layer is this glittery glossy finish, and then the rest of the phone is matte. The sides are completely flat, which definitely helps with grip, and they got a matte finish. On the right, you'd find the volume up and down button as well as the power button. That power button doubles as a fingerprint sensor. On the left, you'd find the SIM and SD card tray. It's one of those trays that supports 2 nano SIMs and an SD card, so you don't have to make any sacrifices. Up top, there's nothing, and at the bottom, there's the headphone jack, the one microphone, a USB-C port, and a speaker. So we get just one speaker, but here's what it sounds like. One interesting thing about this phone is that it's IP rated. It's probably the only phone you can get for its price with an IP rating. Realme also says that they've put this phone through rigorous testing. I think they said about 320 plus tests. So they're basically saying that this is a very durable phone. I've dropped it a couple times and it's held up pretty well. So yeah, the Note 50 has pretty good build quality. It looks and feels like a more expensive phone. But then when you turn the phone over, you're quickly reminded that this is a budget phone. We get a 720p 90Hz IPS LCD display with a U-shaped notch. I compared its display specs to other phones in its price range, and yeah, this is typically what you get for the price. There are some phones though that have a hole punch cutout, which this doesn't have. But really, the display for its price is fine. I watched a couple videos with it and I didn't have any issues. Its color looks good. It's not the most detailed, but it's detailed enough. I think the people getting this phone would have no issues at all. This phone would also feel fluid to those people, because in addition to its 90Hz refresh rate, this has a 180Hz touch sampling rate. That basically means that this display is pretty responsive to your touch. So when you scroll or when you swipe, there is very little delay. For screen brightness, this phone goes up to 560 nits at its peak, which would be visible outdoors, except for really sunny days. But you know what? Since we're already outside, we might as well just test out the cameras. This has a 13 megapixel sensor for the main camera and a 5 megapixel sensor for the selfie camera. Being really honest, going into the camera test, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. But I think at the end of the day, I was impressed. Just like other budget smartphones, if you give this camera enough light, preferably sunlight, you should end up with pretty good looking photos. Okay, so I'm currently shooting with the front facing camera of the Realme Note 50, the 5 megapixel front facing camera. It shoots max at 720p. Doesn't look the best, but do let me know what you guys think of it down in the comments. And now we're switching to the rear facing camera, the 13 megapixel sensor that shoots in 1080p resolution, which is a bit better than the front facing camera, but do let me know what you think of that as well in the comments. While you do that, let's talk about performance. The Note 50 uses the Unisoc T612 processor. When compared to what the competition offers, this is actually better. Slightly better, but better. For RAM, this goes up to 4 gigs, and for storage you can go as high as 256 gigs. But if that's not enough, you can extend the RAM and get an extra 4 gigs, and you can also get more storage with an SD card. Now, although I said that this is better than the competition, you should note that this is still a budget entry-level phone. It would be able to handle the basics: texting, calling, social media, light gaming. It can do all of that, but it might also take time to open apps. Apps might also just crash, or you might even experience stuttering or lagging. So just remember that this is an entry-level phone. And if you want to do a lot more on your phone, then this is probably not for you. But for the people it is built for, this is fine. For its battery, we get a 5000 mAh cell, which should last the entire day with medium use. And then we get 10 watt charging speeds. 10 watts is kind of the standard for entry-level phones. It takes roughly 3 hours to charge this from 0 to 100%. It's definitely on the slow side. Okay, so what do I think of the Realme Note 50? Well, I would say that there are a couple reasons why you should buy this phone. Number one being its best-in-class build quality. There's also the fact that it's got a good fluid display. This one has also got pretty okay cameras, arguably best-in-class performance, and good battery life. My only con with this phone is that it was released in January, so about 9 months ago. So it's kind of old, and that's probably why this is still running on Android 13. But the thing is, even though this phone was released, 9 months ago, it's still one of the best options out there if you're on a really tight budget. It's actually a good phone. That's it. Those are my thoughts on the Realme Note 50. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.